Hey guys, in this video we're going to be going over issue 4 of 9 in the Return to Jurassic Park Comics series. Now we last left off with Sonya and Edgar venturing into the Army's camp on Isla Nublar, with the green flame being spotted just outside of the mysterious base, and Alan, Ellie, Raul and Muldoon have all been captured by these renegade soldiers and are currently being questioned before their immediate execution is to take place. Deep in the wilds of Nublar, our two remaining team members watch the one-eyed Tyrannosaur hunt outside of the compound, and make sure to observe its behavior as well as the Army's searchlight's direction before they make their move. Sonya lets Edgar know that even though they started out as enemies, it's ironic that the Biosyn and InGen operatives are going into hell side by side, and Edgar answers the sentiment with a well-meaning kiss. Now the pair make their move. While the Army is busy locating the Rex, Edgar throws a hook on top of this man-made barrier and begins to scale it, before a guard happens to notice his actions. But just for a moment, Edgar takes this corpse's uniform for himself and tells his partner to pull herself up before he's spotted by another soldier. Confusing Edgar with his fellow comrade, the man asks this assassin a question before getting a knife straight through his body. Sonya makes it known that she's no hunter of man to InGen's principal agent, his only response being that he is a pro. Our other protagonists are currently locked away deep within this alien compound. All of them have been through a lot, but Ellie has received a serious amount of torture from their captors. Assuming she was the weakest link, Dr. Sattler's questioning was carried out by excessive force in an effort to gather information, much to the dismay of Muldoon, and especially Alan Grant. All of them make their decisions to remain quiet and to not let a single word slip from their mouths in order to protect their interests, as well as those of the currently uncaptured Sonya and Edgar. Everyone agrees, except for Raul. Grant calls out to the Biosyn scientist asking for an answer, but Raul remains speechless, and possibly in a more grim shape than the rest of them. Suddenly footsteps are heard, and all of them tell each other to keep silent and act tough, until a familiar face opens the door to their prison. The team is ecstatic to see Edgar has found them in this hellhole, but immediately ask them to check up on Raul before setting them free. InGen's operative walks over to the silent man and asks him how he's doing, before we hear the faint noise of a weak crack coming from Raul's direction. Edgar turns his face to the others and woefully informs them that their teammate is dead. Edgar releases everyone else and tells them to move quickly, while Ellie can't help but to feel sorry for the paleontologist who she feels probably died from a heart attack. Now outside, Muldoon alerts the others to a watchful guard, but Edgar lets them know it's only Sonya, who is seen observing the green lights of some unknown entity. Edgar asks what she's looking at, yet doesn't get a response. After this, everyone files out towards the fence and begin their ascension. Unfortunately, the group is spotted, and Edgar stays behind to provide cover fire for the others. Muldoon is the last to scale the wall and tells Edgar to just wait 5 seconds for him to get set up and provide cover for his fellow InGen alumni. The rescuer eventually makes his way over the wall, and all of them dart away from the base and into the jungles of the island. The soldiers are quick on the trail and run straight into the woods, where they find... It looks like One Eye's found his breakfast. Meeting up at a safe spot away from the base, a jeep is revealed to have been stolen from the soldiers. Sonya got it out and away from the base while Edgar freed the others. But before they make tracks, everyone decides to pile in and wait for dawn. When the sun eventually does come up, all of these renegades send out choppers, desperately looking for their prisoners. They know they can't stay undiscovered all day long, but Muldoon still thinks that they have the benefit of jeep trails being all around the surrounding jungle, as a good confusion amongst their own tire tracks. Dr. Grant now offers up an apology to Edgar Prather. He hasn't treated the man so well and wants to make it known that he's gracious for his help in escaping the compound, but Edgar tells him to forget it. Sonya also lets her admiration be known, which actually gets a smile from the sullen-faced operative, and the pair's relationship is finally shown amongst the others out in the open. Ellie questions Sonya away from the group and asks what Edgar is really like when he's not strictly in business mode, but she can't seem to get an answer from the tour guide. The subject of their conversation overhears this talk and asks what the ladies are going on about, but again, the question is deflected. Anywho, Edgar makes it known that since they couldn't find the secret of the green flame, he's calling the mission off, and says this will be their final day in Jurassic Park. The group stays back and rests before the journey home, and wait for patrols to pass in their silence, all the while enjoying every bit of scenery Nublar has to offer, until something unexpected happens to cross their path again. It's One Eye, and this time, he's clearly searching for the humans. Turning his head in their direction, the Rex lets out a deafening roar and prompts Edgar to tell everyone to scatter. The Rex is close to running down Ellie and Grant before Muldoon shouts at the beast to pay attention to him instead of the scientist. But it appears that this Rex has what's left of its sights set dead on Dr. Grant, and for good reason. Muldoon raises his gun and thinks on taking the risk of firing at the tyrant before seeing the choppers that are still close by. If he tries to save them, then they'll all go down. Still fleeing from the Tyrannosaur, Alan and Ellie run straight into a dead end. Their situation looks bad until the two press themselves up against the wall and become motionless, immediately confusing the Rex. Their knowledge on this animal seems to work, but Ellie's foot slips on the unstable ground. She nearly falls before Grant catches her while the Rex bites forward blindly in an effort to kill these pesky humans. But without the stereo vision, it would appear that this hunter's aim is rather terrible. The two remain still again and become invisible to this creature's eye for a second time now, but he's not having it and starts biting at random points towards the pair. Dr. Sattler has had enough and grabs a hold of a rock nearby before hurling it at the muzzle of the Tyrannosaur, which causes the Rex to stand up in a full display and make the surrounding ground near his feet unstable as well. This sends the Rex tumbling down the hillside, a slow and disheartening development, with a final cry erupting from his mouth in angry defiance once he's reached the bottom. Still running, Edgar and Sonya reach the top of a different hill and ponder on where their allies may have fled to. Edgar uses this moment to ask his partner what the secret of the green flame is, which leaves Sonya confused and asking what exactly he means. Edgar lets it known that she reads the signs of nature, but he reads the signs of men, and tells her that he knows that she saw something in that compound. She tells him that he's letting his imagination run away, and that he really needs to get a grip. He tells her to get the same before she's shoved off the hill by Edgar and caught by the foot. He tells her not to worry, babe, that he's got her. But now it's time to talk. Talk or die. Sonya exclaims that he's crazy before she's met with an answer telling her that he has a job to do. Sonya has the same job though, and tells him that he won't kill her. But Edgar knows she doesn't really know the answer. If she talks, Sonya asks if Edgar will let her up, and he shares that that is indeed the deal. She starts talking, just before we cut away to Alan and Ellie hiking through the jungle and hearing an ungodly female scream. Muldoon and the others follow the noise, which leads them directly to Edgar, frantically asking what's happened. They're given the response of both members running, and Sonya's unfortunate fall. He says he couldn't save her. Choppers fly over this area during this encounter, and all questions are forfeit while everyone begins their escape. The choppers seem to have found an area of interest, but come across the Rex instead of their intended game. Eventually, everyone finally meets up at the path they all took once they began this expedition on the island, and once they enter the cave they all arrived in, put on their scuba gear, and make use of their underwater equipment they've left inside for their journey to Hammond's sub underneath the ocean. Even though they're unable to signal the vessel, they know it will be waiting for them there. Once inside, Edgar gives John Hammond a stern handshake with a smile. John lets him know that he looks rather pleased to see him, and Edgar responds that he very much so is. Ellie has been presently silent ever since Sonya died back on the hill, and makes it her goal to stay as far away from the InGen employee as possible. Grant asks why she seems so solemn now in the face of their escape. She only replies with the name Edgar. Alan thinks that the man sure is something. Sonya's dead and he's still just as formal. Without the secret of the green flame, they don't have much to go off of, but maybe now they can clear those renegade soldiers out of there. Grant says he was wrong about the kind of man Edgar is after all, but Sattler doesn't agree. In fact, she says he's no man at all. I'm not going to lie, the moment Edgar pushed Sonya off of the cliff, I dropped the book in my hands and had my jaw nearly touching the floor. I want to actually talk about the writer now specifically, because I really think this was an incredible twist that really served the story well. Steve Englehart has put together a Jurassic Park story outside of the films and novels that I honestly believe to be highly compelling, extremely enjoyable, and filled with a high level of excitement, energy, and uncharted territory for this brand that is desperately needed in future installments of the series. I want to really praise this issue because I think it is very well deserved. A good sequel is something that takes risks. It's something that relies on the investment in its characters and something that builds upon existing lore. And this series is definitely doing that. I want to go ahead and say that at this point within the Return to Jurassic Park series, I am currently feeling that it is superior to its predecessor in the Raptor Comics storyline. Now of course these are just all of my opinions and not yours. I'm very interested to hear what all of you think about this series so far, and this issue in particular. I have no idea where this thing will go, but I am really looking forward to part 5. Guys, if you enjoyed the video and feel like I deserved it, I would really appreciate the like and hope you consider subscribing so that you can see me again. I'll see you on the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.